Well, welcome back to the shop for this now part 4 video of this 82 FXR Shovelhead shop project of ours. And maybe this is the last video. We got a lot to do in this video, so let's get to it. Okay, so in this video, hopefully this is kind of a wrap-up video. I never did get a good lead on any Springer front end or different exhaust. So we're just gonna have to roll with what we got because I'm out of money to put into this project. So it is what it is. I wanna get this, into the hands of somebody that's gonna love it and enjoy it. So in this video, we gotta figure out our side panels. We gotta finish wiring our starter button. We got to button up the headlight front end. I've got to do something about this oil line being right on this exhaust. Maybe even route it someplace different. I've not even pulled the primary off. It rode good the first time I rode it, besides catching on fire. So let's pull the primary off and just take put our peepers in there and see what's going on. It's a dry primary, so we don't have to worry about losing any kind of fluid or anything like that. And then let's take it down the road and, see how she does again with the now new foot clutch and jockey shift. All right, where do we start? Let's finish up the wiring so that it's done. Okay, so on the wiring, last video, we ran our starter wire out and I went and got this 8 amp waterproof momentary push button switch. It's nice, it's smooth chrome, so you just push this in. It's easy to push in with one hand or one finger, so I think this is going to work good for us. And it doesn't have those little clips. It's got an actual screw clamp on it, which I really like. So there's the part number there, 84822. I picked up, I think Advanced Auto or maybe something like that. So my plans is to put that right there. And we're going to have to drill a much bigger hole here that had this choke cable in for the stock. Now what I could do is make a little bracket off here, bolt here and have a bracket here and put this right here. That way if anybody ever wanted to go back original with an original carb with the choke, manual choke, you could. And you could just use that, and we've not fabricated the actual motor mount. We could do it like that. So let me get this off. This is going to tell us our hole size here. I'm going to kind of show it to us because it might be too big. The switch might be too big diameter to mount right there to drill that out. Let me see here. Okay, I think that's going to work, but it does not leave much room, much material left after we drill out such a big hole. And if we drill the hole so big that it actually eats through this on one side, then we've got, we've destroyed it, and we'll have to shave it off and smooth it out, which means I'd probably need to pull this tank off. So maybe a bracket over here might be our best option. As far as depth wise, we're going to have plenty of room back here to do that, to run our wires. Maybe that's a better option. And then that way, I'm trying to leave stuff as much stock as you can, meaning you can go back. This you can just unbolt, put the regular thing back on. That's why I left this on here. Switch this arm around. This works now normal as a shifter. Clutch cable, just get a new clutch cable. Put the handle back on, the clutch handle back on at the top, and that's, I even left the tabs here to run the cable back in, so that's fine. You ain't gotta fabricate nothing back. So I wanted to leave things like that. So maybe making a little bracket over here might be the best. So let me see if I can find me a little piece of metal that would work. We could drill a hole, bolt it here, drill our hole for this, and have it mounted out here. Maybe? Let's try that. All right, so I found just this piece of metal here we can clean up. It's thick enough to use, that would hold good. Now we just need to measure. Looks like our height needs to be about 3/4, and then our length, once I put the button up there, looks like 2 inches. 3/4 from the center of this hole, and then 2 inches from probably about back here to the hole 2 inches over. So I'll mark that out. We'll go with that. I might make it a little bigger at first so we can always grind off instead of adding metal. Well, you can add metal, it's just easier to grind off than add. Alright, so I made this little piece here. Tuck it back in there. Of course, we'll trim off what we don't need once we get our hole drilled. That'll be right there. And then we can trim off all this excess once our hole is done. But I think that's going to work out pretty good. And then we're just bolting into here, and it'll be thick enough once we bolt it to just push that push button. Then if anybody wants to just take it off and fix it back stock, you can. I like doing that a whole lot better, and it didn't really take that much time. So now I just got to drill out our hole here, then trim, clean up the metal a little bit, bolt it up, put our switch in, and wire it up. Turned out pretty good. Looks like a little axe head, don't it? I think that's going to be great. And that hole, what's the odds of that? That hole, I don't have to drill back here. It's good. Might just leave it pitted like that. I think it looks pretty good. And once you get the button up here, I want to put the button kind of close, but I got to be able to turn. Well, I guess I could take this off, then turn, then put this on. But anyway, once you trim all this off, you're not going to see but maybe that right there of the metal. All right, that there is going to be about what our final product is. Almost looks like a can opener or bottle opener. Wonder if I could have just used that. I don't know. I used the old Christmas tree bit on this, and it fits. I didn't want to go a size bigger because that fits really nice and snug and flush. Then I got a bolt with a washer, lock washer, and nut. It's going to go on the back side of that, like that right there. I can even kind of set it down there if I want to and then tighten it. That's going to be perfect. Just reach down there and push on that button. Then if somebody wants to, you know, go back stock, just take this button off. Hook your wire back in back here, run it out to your headlight up there that's already there. Put your controls back. Boom. Easy peasy. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down. I'm going to put some blue in there, tighten this down. I'm going to go ahead and mount this in the bracket because we can work on it, and then when we get it where we want it, we can just put it up here and put our bolt through it. Our washer, lock washer, and nut. And then that's done. It's tucked up underneath the tank. You're really not going to see it unless you just get your peepers down there, you know, squatting down, looking up in there. You could paint it black, I guess, but kind of like this raw metal look. I think it turned out pretty good for just a Christmas tree bit, a grinder, flap disc, cutoff wheel, and scrap of metal I found laying on the ground. Happen to have a hole already in it. Pretty good. A 7/8 socket fit on there, and I hand tighten it, and I put a ratchet on there just to kind of give it a little extra squeeze. It is metal, so that's good. If you were dealing with a plastic switch, you gotta be real careful. You can never get them tight enough. They'll usually back out on you. That's why I like these metal switches. Now, could I have trimmed this a little bit more? Probably, but you would have probably seen the nut on the back exposed out, poking out, and I didn't want that look. So this is just, whew, I got close there, but this is just perfect right here, and that'll go right like that. Now we've already got tons of wire here. Of course, I don't want that much wire, but I think even if we use excess, we can tuck it up in there, zip tie it maybe to the harness that runs up in there, but I am going to cut a little bit off. I'm not going to make it too tight because I do want it to run up, zip tie to the harness, and come down. So maybe about that much right there. Clip that off. I can take a little flathead, back that out, and then I want my wire to go up underneath, not coming in from the top. So it'll come up from something like that right there. And this motorcycle gauge wire is perfect for that. Run that in there. And then we can just run this down. It will grab that wire, and it will make a very, very good and strong connection. Bend that wire back there, and then that'll go up there like that. Our wire then will come up here, zip to the harness once I get it tucked in there, and come right out down through here. Now we got to get hot to this switch so that when we push this button, it runs to the starter relay and actually starts the bike. To do that, we're just going to feed off the ignition switch on this. So I'm going to run another wire with a little eyelet on it to connect back here. I'm pretty sure that's what's on the back of those. And what we got to do is pull this switch out. Mount for this switch is actually welded to the frame. So I don't want to take the whole thing out. So we're going to take the switch actually out of the mount and move it down here so we can see which one feeding out is our ignition switch. Then when we go to lights, we need to make sure that stays on as well. Well, maybe not so much for the start, because that's all this button is a starter button. But before we start dropping this down, it's awful close to the head back here. In case it does rock back and hit the head, I want to disconnect the battery. So I'm going to take the seat off, disconnect the battery. Then we can go ahead and get this clamp off, get the switch out, and test. All right, we got our negative disconnected. So I'm gonna take a pair of vice grips and just grab hold to that thing, not too hard. I just want to be able to turn it, hopefully without marring it up. There we go. Then I can take this out here. We can drop this out the back and bring it, oh gosh. All right, there is absolutely, I'm glad we disconnected the battery. They're not leaving me any room. I can get a screwdriver back in there, but it is tight. So what I'm going to have to do is hold this, make sure it doesn't touch anything, hook the battery back up. No, I don't need the battery actually. Yeah, I do. I need to know which one's constant hot. That's what I need to know. Let me go ahead and stick the key in here. I do not like how close that is, but that's just what it is. We got to work in here blind and hope we don't. I don't think grounding the side of the switch out would hurt anything, because it's mounted in here, but I sure don't want nothing touching back there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my leads hooked up, and then I can see what's hot. Now I just thought of this. I actually don't have to hook the battery back up, because what I can do is use my ohms button, my ohms reading. I can hook one lead to the positive of the battery and then see which lead on the ignition is actually connected to it. That tells me my constant hot. So I don't even have to hook the battery back up. I will need the key later, so let's try. Why is that an open line? Okay, listen. I put new batteries in you. Okay, you should not be going nuts on me. Why is this showing temperature? Oh, it's this. My actual switch is getting wonky on me. You've been so good to me. I hadn't dropped you or nothing. That's showing a connection, and that's showing a connection. Good grief. Well, this ain't working. All right, let's go over to volts. All right, I am going to have to hook the battery back up, and I hope we don't get any spark. I'll be watching. I'll be watching you. Okay, we're good. So let me test on this. That's from the negative to the positive. Now let me see what I've got hot coming out of the switch with the switch off. That's one. Shouldn't have anything coming out of any of the other ones. Okay, so I've got two. I got two that are constant hot, which makes no sense to me. Does that mean the light stays on all the time? Or does that mean it's able to crank all the time? All right, now I got my switch turned on. I want to see what's fed now. That was my constant hot. Yeah, and that was my constant hot back here. Now I don't have that anymore. I've got like 0.3 volts coming out of that one. I don't understand this at all. Okay, help me understand this. Okay, that's off because I can pull the key out. Okay, so with the key out, I've got hot on that terminal, hot on that terminal, nothing on that terminal. This other terminal seems to never be fed. I do not understand. Unless this main wire here feeds something else besides the starter relay. Let's do this. Let me hook my headlight up. Let me see if I've got headlights when I hook the headlight up. When I turn the headlight switch on. Because I've got it wired already. Yes, okay, so I have headlights. So what is that? Alright, that is nothing. That is nothing. Okay, I do not get this at all. Is there another lead I'm missing? There's only 3 wires, or 3 leads on the back. It's either my multimeter's wacky. How come when the lights are on, and I hit the switch for the lights to come on, it turns the lights on, but then there's nothing coming out. There's no voltage coming out of this. That makes no sense. Oh gosh, guys, I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. Good grief. I had my ground hooked up to my positive on the battery. No wonder, no wonder. Golly, I was scratching my head, fellas. I'm like, wait a minute. This don't make sense. All right, now my ground's hooked up to ground. There's my hot. Okay, now I should get, there's a hot there, nothing there, and nothing there. Okay, this is making sense now. So this one over here looks like a big yellow wire is my hot, constant hot to the key switch. Okay, now when I hit the key switch over, it should feed one of these two. Okay, nothing on that. Okay, and it's feeding this one on the right. So constant hot on the left, ignition on the right, and then when I go one more key, I've got headlights, which feeds this, yes, and I should have power here, yes. Okay, so I need to connect my starter button to this wire on the right side. Now I can turn the key off, take that out, and I'm going to take my negative off now so we don't spark anything. Gosh, I was wondering, I'm like, what in the world is going on here? Well, that's user error. Huh. Imagine that. Phillips head on that. I can get that off. Okay, so I got the outlet on what I think is the right one for the switch. I got my multimeter hooked up on DC volts. Negative on negative, I double checked. And then my positive lead I've got running to this wire that now runs to that switch. So as you can see, I've got nothing here. So we'll put the key in now. We'll go over to ignition. We have ignition, hot running to this. Go over to lights. We have hot running to that. And I want to make sure I got good clearance back there. There's ignition, there's lights. Yep. All right, so now we're safe to go ahead and hook up our starter button. And before we even mount it up in there, we can test it out. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's going to work for us. All right, so as far as length, I want to give myself enough length, about the same as the other, because we're going to zip tie them up there. So about right there. And I use a yellow and red wire just to try to keep a little consistency. Then we'll run this out here. There we go. And I'll run this up from the bottom just like the other one. Tighten it down. We'll make sure it's on the metal wires and not the sheathing itself. But I want to get the rubber sheathing up as close as I can. There we go. And I'll just kind of bend that down there. All right. And then our wires are on there. All right. So the bolt that I found was a T40. So this will actually, once we get everything tucked up under there, this will actually set right there. It'll go there. Got a washer, lock washer, and a 1/2-inch nut to go on the back. Wish it had been a nylon nut because those things stay put pretty good. That feels good. And then I just got to wrap my wires up here. Ignition on. Should have crank. We do. And even lights on, we should have crank. And we do. Very good. I'm going to start you back here. And I want to get you, okay, I should have went over this, not under it. Hey, do I have enough slack to actually do that? Okay. I can tuck that up behind there. And I think just one zip tie now is all we need. I like to use these dikes here for when you need to get something flush, a zip tie flush, and you can't quite reach it at an angle. That right there does really good. So I got this soldered together. All this was the white and gray wire, if you remember from the last video, that bypassed the kill switch. So I capped off all these. They are indeed dead wires. There's nothing's coming out of that, so I don't have to cap it off. I think we're ready now to go back with the headlight. And the whole headlight kind of came apart on me, and I'm not sure it's supposed to do that. I did put some grease, dielectric grease on this light. Now I should be able to stuff everything up in there, move these connectors around, and that's it right there. This rubber still feels good. There's a little bit of, looks like maybe super glue or something there. I'm not sure. Maybe right there. Looks good. Now we can tighten up this antique screw right here that somebody took from a flathead to a Phillips head. I want to make sure, there. Make sure it's setting up in there good, sealing good. I think I'm going to find me a new headlight. I think I've got a stock Harley headlight off an old Sportster that I think fits in there. If I can find the shroud and all that. Oh, okay. There we go. All right, so our headlight's done. So we should get key on, nothing. And then there's the lights, and that's on bright. Now we didn't adjust the housing at all, so it should be set good. Okay, so let's test it out. Let's turn the fuel on, turn the choke. The S&S on. I squirted a couple times already. We'll go ignition. Okay, I was worried about this vibrating too much, but as you could tell when I was pointing at it, it's not. Sometimes when you put jockey shifts on, if you do a real long one, it'll vibrate so much it'll actually pop out of gear. But this one doesn't seem to be doing that at all, so that's great. All we got left now is our side panels. Taking our primary off just to kind of poke around up in there and see what's going on. Or do we even, I don't know, do we even mess with it? Do we just take it down the road first, see how it does? Because what are you going to do, just stare at it? Well, we could inspect the belt, make sure the belt's good. He gave me 2 extra belts, so if the belt's bad, we might change it. There shouldn't even be really even a gasket on this, because it's dry. Maybe we could just take the inspection plate off and look up in there, but I don't know if it's a dummy plate or an actual inspection plate. While we're here, let's jump into this and then we'll do our side panels and we'll go down the road. See what's inside this bird right here. Should be 3/16, I didn't check, but yep, all the way around. I can go ahead and take this off for now. Let's just go ahead and pull the whole thing off. Why not? My son-in-law, who works on heavy machinery, got me this off his tool cart. It's a snap-on. You can put your sockets in there, hang your wrenches there, snap your ratchets in there. Man, and it snaps right there on the side of my lift. And I love that because if you know me, I hate clutter where I'm working. So now, all the things that I was working on, I could snap that in there. Extensions I could put in there, maybe, yep. A 1/2 inch I could hang in there. They're all made for 3/8 size sockets, but that's pretty nice. And if I'm working on something, I can just hang my tools out here and ain't got to worry about having 20 things out here on the lift. But it is 3/8 only. It is sturdy too. When you snap it on, buddy, it's on there. You can hang your toes off of it. Okay, enough jawing. Let's get this off here. See what's inside. Check on that belt. All right, I'm just gonna break these free by hand. Of course, there's no seal in here. There's not even a drain plug anymore. So there's no seal inside here, so we ain't gotta worry about warping this thing. I'll zip these off. Time for the big reveal. What are we working with here? Get it off the dowel there. Get the starter off. There we go. There's our belt. Of course, you're going to get belt material now. That's just how it is. There's our pulley there on the front. Everything looks good on this. Nothing's backed off. Our teeth on our basket look good. Starter Bendex and starter gear look good. The arm looks good. Our belt, from what I can tell, looks really good. The belt in the rear, you can kind of see a little bit. That looks good as well. Looks like almost a brand new belt that's put on it. All right, so like I said, you could leave this off like this. However, I suggest that you don't. The reason for that is this outer primary you're going to put on has a roller bearing here that this shaft rides in with this spacer here, the shim. And when this plunges out, if you didn't have the outer primary on, you could get this starter gear out of alignment, bend it, break it off. So as you'll see here on the inside of the primary, there's a roller bearing there. So you definitely want to keep the outer primary on when you have a starter. Now, if I didn't have a starter and had a kickstart, I wouldn't need even this. You could take all this off, starter off, then you could definitely run an open primary on that. But with the starter being added and on this, you really need to keep this outer primary on. But everything looks good inside. So what I'm going to do is put this back on. Before I do that, I'm going to put a little bit of grease, probably bearing grease, in here before I put this back on. Everything else looks really good in here. This almost looks pretty new. And of course, the 82 FXR did not come with a dry primary. So this is an added upgrade and a belt drive as well. Very nice upgrade. So let me throw some grease in this bearing, maybe around here as well, but this feels good. There's my spacer. Everything looks good there. And the spacer is spaced out enough not to rub on my splines here on my basket. I like it. The belt tension is just what it is. That's how it is. Can't really adjust that as far as I know. Maybe you know a way to. And there's the drain plug, which it doesn't even have a drain plug in it. Looks good to me. How about you? So I'm glad we checked it. We got to clean out some of the belt debris. We are good to go back now. Now I'm using grease here instead of oil because since this is a dry primary, if I was to just use oil, the oil would just run down and run off. But if I use grease, multi-purpose grease, it should stay in there a little bit better. So maybe, you know, every time you service your bike, if you have a belt drive and a starter, and you have this gear and the bearing, roller bearing and the primary, maybe every time you service your bike, just go ahead and do that. That would be really good. So I want to get it kind of worked up on that bearing. It should go on there nice and smooth. I feel that it's in the bearing. There we go. And now we can just kind of start back with our bolts here. I think that one was there. And since it is just a cover now, not anything that needs to worry about leaking, I'm just going to zip these down because you really don't have to worry about them, about torquing it and worrying about oil leaks and things like that. I'll go back around with my ratchet just to make sure my gun's getting them tight enough, but that's pretty much it. All right, let's move on now to our side panels. I got some ideas that you guys gave me that I think is going to be at least worth a try. How's that? All right, side panel plans. What I had planned to do is to take these sheets, I already got them marked out, cut them out. I got nuts and bolts and all that to go here and here, those little clip nuts. And then I was going to cover it in this, which kind of matches the seat best I could find. Some of you folks suggested, hey, that might be just too much leather. And when I built this air breather, it was hard to get the edges of the leather to look right. So I put this chrome headlight ring around it. So I was scratching my head, and one of you folks said, hey, take the old side panels and just cover those, I don't know what you call these things, skid marks. I don't know. What do you call these? There's a name for them, I know, because the comment suggested it. And put leather in here. That might look pretty good, but I got to looking at it, and I don't think I like how this is cut. And you know, I wanted a place to store stuff anyway, besides a little pouch under the seat. So I thought I need pockets. I was on Faceplace one night, and a church friend had posted a leather bag for $25. And I got to looking at the pouches on the side, and I thought that's about the perfect size pouch I want to put on side panels. So I snatched it up. Now this is a whole lot different color than the seat, but I do have leather stain, and it is a show brown. So I did a little section back here on the back, just a little spot to test it, and it turned out to be about the same shade as my seat. Why don't we try to cut these pockets out of this bag? There's one on each side, so they'll match, and then put it kind of up on here and see how it's going to look. On this side panel, the pouch will set about right there, and hopefully cover up this and give me a pouch. And then I can fix this. I got new screws to go in here. I don't know, that might look just as good as if we did metal. Because here's the thing, all right, just work with me here for a minute. There's no raw metal on this. Well, maybe besides this aluminum. There's really no raw metal. It's pretty much chromed, everything you see. Of course, except for the forward controls. So if I put raw metal up here, I'm going to have to either cover it with something or take it and get it chromed. I'm not doing that. As flimsy as it is, a chrome will never work on it. This already kind of matches the paint. And then once I cover this up with a pouch and it's the same kind of shade as the seat, that might be worth a try. If this don't look right and it's still not the way we want to go, then we can cut our metal panels out and maybe cover it with some leather and then put our pouch on there. But then you're going to have two different kinds of leather. I don't know. I think this would be worth a shot. I think my pouch will be wide enough to cover all of this up. Let's cut that pouch out. I want to measure because this right here is pretty long. I'm going to have to cover up. So my pouch might wind up being way up here to come down here. Okay, you're not going to believe this, but that pouch is a perfect diameter that I needed. What are the odds of that? Sometimes that's just how the Lord works things out, huh? So I cut the pouch out, the pocket pouch, out of the bag. I still got to do a little bit of trimming. This side I got pretty good, but I went on the outside, so I still got my stitches here, so it's going to work out good. I just got to stain it. The only sad thing is when I stain it, I'm probably going to have to stain the stitching as well. But when I put this on here, I can bring it up here. I'm telling you, that's going to fit perfect. I don't know what better you could ask for. That just turned out great. Covered up the things I didn't like. We're able to use this. I can't ask for nothing better. So how are we going to keep this on here? Well, I'm going to adhese it with that E6000. That worked really good. I want to try that. But I'm also, once I adhese it, I'm going to go in the back and drill 1, 2, 3, 4 holes, and then put some bolts and nuts on the back. That way I know this, if you load this down, it ain't going nowhere. And the adhesion will help for it to not kind of peel up in the corners, that E6000 stuff. So I want to do that, but I want to stain it first before we do all that. On there just so we can kind of see what this pouch is going to look like. What? What about that? God, that is good. That looks tough. Love it. And it's got still got the white in it that kind of blends together. Perfect. So when I oil this up, leather conditioner, it'll probably lighten it up a little bit. I like how it's kind of got some of the clearer coming through. Man, right there is what I want right there. That looks awesome. Now I got to find a way to get this to stay kind of right there where I want it so it doesn't move on us. So whoever gave me that idea of using these, thank you. Because I would not have thought about that on my own. I'll try to go back when I edit and tag you in it or show your comment. I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to try this, see if I can get it just to kind of stay where I want it. Then when I get it over to the table, I can kind of mark it. Yeah, I think that is going to be just right. Oh, it fell on me, didn't it? I got to make sure when I glue it now that it's on there where I want it and not cockeyed. All right, so right there is where I want it. So I'm going to make some marks, some reference points, then clean this panel up, kind of dust off the back of this leather, and then get my E6000 and get it on there. Then once it's adhesed to it, I can drill my 2 holes and 2 holes and run bolts and nuts in it. And then the bag, no matter what you put in it, isn't going to rip off. I'll use some big fat washers. Should work out great. It turned out pretty daggone good. That E6000, I'm telling you, is like cement on this. Now I did go ahead and run 3 little bolts in here with the screws in the back. I went in between these rivets, or those little cutouts there. And now we can snatch this up in here, set this up in here, and there you go. What do you think? I like it. I do. The white kind of stays in there, and then you get the little pouch, and it is indeed on both sides as well. Now on this pouch, for some reason the little scallop thing ran out, so maybe I can get Spears to just kind of paint over that to blend it in. I'm not sure, but I think it turned out pretty good. I'm happy with that. And when you look at this and it blends into this, I like it. Maybe if Spears can come in and, I don't know, do some things around designs around here to kind of fill up that space. You might hate it, but I like it. So here's the bag. I don't know what brand it was, but I cut the sides out and it had that front, so I cut it out too. And I thought, well, put that in the front for like a tool pouch up above the headlight. If we wanted to, we could add something like that. I really like them down here, but I can't put them down here because with forks. So it would have to set there. And I don't know if I don't know if I like the shape of that. I think the round ones look a little better than that. So I've not installed that. That's still a maybe. I think I want to go with that. When you get a whole view, kind of a gander of the bike itself, it don't look that bad. I wish I could have maybe found some, you know, V-shaped ones, maybe ones that kind of followed this line a little better. It covers up those stripe things, so I think I'm going to just ride with that. It kind of blends in good with the leather. That show brown that I got turned out pretty good on it. I don't know, you tell me what you think. But once we get the side panels bolted up, we're ready to go down the road on this. See how that foot clutch does. You know, I was thinking I could even mount that somewhere down here like that. How's that look? Maybe even somewhere back here? That looks kind of goofy. Maybe we just ditched that one. Okay, so about the only thing left here is to address how close this hose runs to the exhaust. 2 reasons I don't like this exhaust. Number one, these megaphone trumpet kind of mufflers on the end, which is all one piece. You can't swap it out. Number 2, where this runs right here. You cannot get the dipstick for the transmission out. You can't even feel it if it was low. You have to take this exhaust off just to even do inspection. It does run really close to this hose right here. Now I replaced all the lines because, as you know, it burnt, grounded out. So all the lines were metal, so they were hitting the frame and they fried. Thankfully nothing else fried because my motor is rubber mounted. So that was good. The way to fix this, what I'm going to do, my friend at church, Bubba, who actually went with me to pick this bike up, said, what about those fiberglass wraps, spark plug wires? Huh. And I thought, man, I've got some of those. I've got some right here. And so I can run this, maybe even a couple of layers through the hose back here, enough to kind of protect it a little bit, and then run that clamp on there a little better. To take this exhaust off on the rear, you got a 1/4 inch Allen head here, and I just put a new gasket on here, so I really don't want to be monkeying with that. Then you've got a connector here, a bracket for the front to the rear to connect. It's hard to get to. Then you got a rubber mount back here for the bottom of this frame right in front of the swing arm. And you can get to the bolt to get it out, but there's a nut inside this muffler that is really hard to line back up to get it back on. Ask me how I know? Can I just take this holder off here, take the line off, cap the line so I don't get any oil coming out, maybe squeeze it off back here. I'll lose a little bit of oil, but I think I overfilled the oil anyway, because I have oil puking out now, and I never did before. So I think I got it a little bit overfilled. It's not a lot of oil, just a puddle, you know, about that big around that comes out. I can take you down here and even kind of show you. There's the oil right there. With just me starting it up today. Not a lot, and for a shovel head, you know, they breathe, they sump, they pump, they puke sometimes, but it's never done that before, and I think I just overfilled it. I checked all the lines, nothing's actually leaking from the lines. It's coming out of the breather, which has a little filter on it, a little catch filter. So that's all that is. No big concern to me right now. I think I just got it a little bit full. So what I'm saying is this, even if I lose some oil, then that's okay. Now you might be saying, hey man, what's this wire hanging here? It's just a clamp. I look down here and there is actually an oil pressure switch down there, and it's still wired up. So I just clamped this on the oil pressure switch with this clamp. Then on this wire, I just ran it around a bulb. Then I took a hot wire straight from my battery to this. The light come on, started the bike. Once the pressure built up, the light went off. So that's good. So my oil pressure is working, so it's not an issue with oil pressure or anything like that. I think I just overfilled it by looking at the dipstick. Yeah, I probably did. Because understand, it's not like the twin cams where they breathe from the heads. These actually breathe out of the case. So you get a little bit too much oil, it just pukes out the bottom. No big deal. I want to take this 1/4 inch Allen out right here that holds this little brace thing here for the oil line. Take it all the way out so that I can move it. I wish I could maybe even put it somewhere else to kind of hold this line back a little more. Wonder if I brought it over here. I think that might be what I do. Hold on, I think I might have discovered something. All right, there's a little hose clamp I put in there. Okay, I think my problem was actually this clamp here on the face was pushing this hose toward my exhaust. I wonder if I could put this on the top of the transmission cover. I think I can take my transmission cover bolt out on this top corner. I'm not sure why they would design a exhaust that really limits you doing basic things to your bike, like checking things or getting the transmission cover off. I think I got a good fix on it, and I don't know if I can get you in there to see. I took that little clamp rubber hose when it's got metal then rubber around it that was here, and that was actually bringing it out. So what I did is I just put it in the top of the transmission cover bolt right here and turned it right on this exhaust, and now this hose is off this exhaust. So I want to run with that, roll with that, see how that does. Hopefully it won't heat up enough, you know, to do anything with that rubber line. And I'm not even sure, folks, maybe some of you guys can educate me, because this is my first FXR. I'm not certain this hose runs up in here like this. To find an OEM line that's got the bends, and I know you can probably bend it yourself, I don't know. This is Gates, the good Gates fuel injection line. So that's what everybody says they've used for years and years and years. I've used these as oil lines as well before and never had an issue with them. I think it's ready to ride down the road and see how that foot clutch and jockey shift does. Then she's ready. She's ready for a home. Got to clean her up a little bit. I am going to put some miles on her over the weekend and stuff. I'm going to see if Spears wants to come up and do some nice pinstriping. I did swap this mirror out to a more old school. This is an actual Harley Davidson mirror. It's the square ones that I like. If I could have found the left side, I would have dropped it down here. That way everything up top's clean. You know what I'm saying? But at this time, she's ready to go down the road, so let's take her for a spin. I did put my new drive belt on where the other one had a little scratch in it. And of course, it hadn't rained in 2 weeks. I get ready to ride. It's thundering. That's the way it goes. Choke on. All right. Got back just in time. Oh my goodness. Well folks, there you are. This 1982 FXR Shovelhead project is done. If we want to keep building on it, we can. But I'm ready for it to get into the hands of somebody that's going to enjoy it and love it. The foot shift, jockey shift foot clutch. It did great. Shifted great, easy to find neutral. I think I have my cable just a little too tight. So I need to adjust my cable, which is easy to do. I'm actually going to bring the peg down a little for my clutch so that I don't have to actually raise my foot up to put on the clutch. This frame's like a sports bike. I'm telling you, it takes curves like nobody's business. So I want to keep my feet on the floorboard. And the floorboards felt great. And the shifter, even though in the video it might look like it's all up in my business, it's not. It's really comfortable just to reach down and grab that and shift. Did good. I got to adjust my front brakes. They're a little too tight, a little too grabby. Everything else did great. The oil, it's not puking oil anymore, so I did just kind of have it overfilled. It's just a little drip or two now when you're done riding. Everything else was fine on it. It handled great. I love the bars, they feel comfortable. I love looking and not, having nothing up here to worry about. Riding a jockey shift foot clutch, it's not like riding a bike where once you learn it, you remember it. If you'll notice in the video, when I first pulled out of the shop, I put my foot down the clutch, put it in gear, took off. What did I do with my foot? I put it on the floorboard and immediately tucked it up underneath to get ready to pop back into neutral. So no matter how many years you've been riding jockey shift foot clutches, if you get on a regular bike and ride it for a year and then try to get back on with it, you got to pay attention. Now they're fun and they are unique. You're gonna get people's attention, but there is something that you've constantly got to think about when you're on the bike. You can't get used to it when you are coming from a standard setup hand clutch and foot shift to this. You got to constantly have this in your mind. Prepare your stops, plan your stops, get ready to find neutral, things like that. I say that to say this. This bike's going to be leaving the shop. So if anybody wants this bike, email me at this email address right here and reach out to me and I can send you all the information on it, the asking price for it. It has a Tennessee title, clean title, ready to go. If you're not comfortable with a foot clutch and jockey shift, I'm going to give you the option that if you want it and you either put a deposit down or pay for it and you want the regular hand clutch and foot shift back, I'll put it back on you. So you can get this bike with either the jockey shift how it is in the foot clutch or back to normal. I don't mind doing that for you a bit because I want you to be safe on it and have fun on it. And if you get the bike and like it is and you ride it for a couple times and decide, nah, I don't really care for the jockey shift and foot clutch, it's easy to change back. All the parts are still there for it. You will need a new clutch cable because that one was fraying up at the top, remember? So I just decided to cut it anyway. And so you will need a new clutch cable, but that's it. Besides that, I've had fun. This is now 4 videos of this bike and it's doing great. I checked on the oil line and I don't see anything, getting close to it or seems to be operating fine. I got my registration in here for my plate. It did great. It seemed to do really, really good. It sputtered on me a couple times, but I think it's just where I hadn't read the thing in a good month. Of course, I run either ethanol free or premium only in this. And all my headlight, I hadn't even checked the headlight switch. Yep, headlight works. It's good to go. It really is. I'm gonna clean it up a little bit. If you want the bike and you want Spears to do some kind of custom stuff, let me know and I'll get him up here. He stays so busy. We got to work around his schedule and where it works for him. I asked for a little patience. If you want that done, he can do that and he'd be more than willing and happy to do it. I'm thinking about a little FXR design right here. Maybe the Butler Customs in white, kind of a white to match this, Butler and then Customs. Maybe doing something around here to kind of fill in on the sides here too. I don't know, but I'm going to clean it up. I'll probably take me some good pictures of it, but I'll tell you guys, as far as comfortable, it is comfortable. It really is. Those floorboards, you got your knees out. The air breather doesn't get in your way. The brake's right there. This brake I'm going to do some work on because it's pretty grabby and I don't like that. So come get this thing, man. A 1982 FXR Shovelhead matching case, matching frame with the motor. Clear Tennessee title. Can't ask for nothing better. Email me and we'll work it out. So thank you guys so much for coming along with me in this journey, and I hope to have more projects that you and I can build however we want and then send off to a good home. So I can't thank you enough, and tell your mom and them I said hi.